Stop. Take a deep breath now. Because what you are about to hear in the next few minutes is no longer a common video about faith. It is an alert straight from the highest consciousness within you, the one that sees the plans the enemy has architected against your life long before you felt the first symptom of fear. You have spent months, perhaps years, asking the Almighty to deliver you from something you cannot even properly name, a feeling of being under siege, a shadow that insists on sitting at your table, deals that stall at the last minute, relationships that grow cold for no apparent reason, money that comes in through one door and vanishes through three. And you pray, you ask, you beg, but nothing changes. Do you know why? Because you are asking the Almighty for what the Almighty has already given you. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you feel you already are. And as long as you feel, deep in your chest, that you are being defeated, the enemy continues to have permission to write the script of your life. This video is your defense. The law of belief is your armor. And today I will teach you the secret that Arthur Sterling, Walter Bennett, and the great masters of consciousness have whispered for centuries. You are not the victim of this story. You are the screenwriter. And what seems to be a fall is in truth the final movement before your greatest turnaround. But I need you to understand something that few preachers have told you with the depth it deserves. The enemy does not attack you with knives. He attacks you with thoughts. He does not invade your home through the door. He invades through your imagination. And worse, he disguises himself as your own inner voice, whispering things like, "This won't work out. You are too old to start over. Your family will be left with nothing if you take a risk. You don't deserve this love that is trying to arrive." Every time you believe that voice, you silently sign a decree of acceptance of defeat. And that is exactly why so many Brazilians over the age of 35, even praying every day, even attending churches, still remain trapped. Because their state of mind is vibrating in scarcity, in fear, in constant struggle. And the universe is an absolutely faithful mirror. Wait. Before I continue, listen as if I have known you for a long time. If these words are hitting deep in your chest right now, if something locked up when I mentioned that invisible siege, this is no coincidence. You were led here. There are millions of videos available at this second, and yet it is my voice that is crossing your ears. How many times in the last few weeks have you woken up in the middle of the night with the clear feeling that you needed to protect someone in your house, but didn't know from what? How many times did you ask for a sign and it came, but you pretended you didn't see it? There is a spiritual movement happening around you that many perceive, but very few understand. And you may be the only one in your lineage called to break a cycle of defeat that has been repeating for generations. That is why I prepared a powerful digital book for you called How to Know If You Are Saved for Judgment Day, available in the link pinned in the description and at the top of the comments. Hundreds have found clarity and real protection reading these pages. This content may be taken down at any moment because the truth it carries bothers many people. If you were placed here, do not ignore it. Go to the link now and leave an amen in the comments as a decree of acceptance of this new reality. Now, with your heart open, I want you to understand the invisible structure behind everything. There is a principle called the law of belief, which Arthur Sterling taught throughout his existence. Everything you assume to be true in the depths of your consciousness, even if external facts say otherwise, materializes. It is not magic. It is law, like gravity. You don't need to believe for it to work. The law of belief operates exactly the same way. And that is why the enemy works so hard on your mind. Because if he can get you to assume that you are small, that you are defeated, that there is no way out, he doesn't need to do anything else. You build your own fall brick by brick with every thought of fear, every inner monologue of discouragement, every night you sleep replaying what went wrong. Think of the state of mind as a tuned radio. If you are picking up the frequency of scarcity, you will hear the music of scarcity playing throughout your entire life. If you are tuned into defeat, all the news that arrives confirms defeat. But the moment you change your internal channel, even if the world outside remains exactly the same, your experience begins to reorganize itself. Not because the external reality changed first, because your internal I am was rewritten. And the universe, always obedient, begins to reorganize people, events, opportunities, to reflect this new self. This is what Arthur Sterling called the chain of events, coincidences that are not coincidences, casual encounters that open doors locked for years, unexpected phone calls, dreams with clear direction. All of this is the universe building, in silence, the bridge between who you were and who you assumed yourself to be. And it is exactly at this point that I need to pause with you, because I feel that something is stirring inside you, and this restlessness has a name, it has a purpose, and it is part of your spiritual protection. The book, How to Know If You Are Saved for Judgment Day, was written for this exact moment of your journey. It is in the link pinned in the description and also at the top of the comments. It is not just reading, it is a deep awakening. If you were led to this sentence, it is because your family needs you whole. Go now, today, do not leave it for later. But there is a problem, and here is the common error that nullifies the manifestation of most, especially the Brazilian over 35, who carries decades of programming of struggle and poorly processed religious guilt. Most claim during the day, I am prosperous, I am loved, I am blessed. But at night, when the head hits the pillow, when the eyes close, they begin to review the overdue bills, the arguments with their spouse, the fear of unemployment, the dread of illness in the family. And that is where the damage happens. Because the subconscious does not listen to what you claim with your mouth during the day. It listens to what you feel in the last minutes before sleep. It listens to your rawest inner monologue. And it accepts that as absolute truth, building the external reality around this silent truth. Then comes a concept that few people teach with depth, the fourth dimension. You live in 3 dimensions every day, but there is a 4th layer, where everything that has not yet happened already exists. Think of a DVD movie. When you are watching the middle scene, the final scene already exists recorded on the disc, waiting for your gaze to arrive. The 4th dimension works like that with your life. What you desire in truth already exists at some point in space-time. Your job is not to create from nothing, it is to select. It is to position yourself internally as the one who lives that scene now, with so many sensory details that the universe delivers the external scenario that matches your internal frequency. And that is why Walter Bennett wrote the book, Faith is the Key. The title is the formula. You need to feel with every fiber of your body the joy of already being where you want to arrive, not pretending, feeling for real. And here comes science. The HeartMath Institute demonstrated that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain. This field extends several meters around the body, and it varies according to your feeling. When you feel gratitude, certainty, fulfillment, this field organizes itself into a coherent magnetic wave. When you feel fear, resentment, scarcity, this field becomes chaotic, pushes away the right people, closes the right doors, scrambles your own brain. Think of that time you met someone and instantly felt that something was wrong for no logical reason. Think of that time you entered a place and the whole environment weighed on you, even with smiles everywhere. You were feeling the electromagnetic field of people's hearts. And they also feel yours always. When you live in a state of internal defeat, the entire universe adjusts to deliver external defeat to you, not because it is cruel, because it is honest. Here is what the enemy does not want you to discover. He has no power at all over your life. 0. What he has is the capacity for suggestion. He whispers ideas into your mind like silent seeds, waiting for you to water them with feeling. Without your feeling, the seed does not grow. It is like a seed thrown on asphalt. But the moment you welcome the thought of fear, repeat it 1,000 times in your head. Tell your neighbor, your brother, you are watering that seed with care. And it becomes a tree. And the tree becomes a forest. And you find yourself trapped in a dense forest of problems that, at the beginning, was a thought you could have ignored in 3 seconds. Persistence is what separates those who manifest from those who give up. Arthur Sterling taught that the state of the wish fulfilled must be occupied until the external world surrenders, and many people give up 3 steps before the turnaround. The enemy counts on your giving up. He bets on your impatience. He knows that if you hold on for another 48 hours in the correct state of mind, he loses. That is why he intensifies the attack exactly at the moments when you are closest. When fear increases for no reason, it is a sign of proximity. When the chaos seems worse, It is the last breath of the old world falling apart. And you need to understand another fundamental thing, perhaps the most important of all. Mental reprogramming does not happen in the noisy effort of the day. It happens in the sacred silence of the night. There is a golden window between the moment you close your eyes and the moment you actually fall asleep. This interval of 5 to 15 minutes is the most powerful portal to which you have access. At this moment, the barrier between the conscious and the subconscious becomes as thin as wet paper. Everything you feel and imagine in this interval is recorded in the subconscious as absolute truth. And the subconscious, during the hours you sleep, works in silence to reorganize your external reality according to that last nightly recording. And here is where I cannot continue without warning you once again, with all the seriousness that this message demands at this very instant. This invisible game that happens in your last minutes before sleep is exactly where your family is being decided without you realizing it. Your children, your spouse, your entire lineage depend on what you record in the subconscious in this nightly window. And you cannot go through this process alone, without direction, improvising. That is why I prepared a powerful digital book for you, How to Know If You Are Saved for Judgment Day, available in the link pinned in the description and also at the top of the comments. Brazilians over 35 who were exactly as stuck as you are now found in this material, the complete structure of spiritual protection that no one else teaches. This content is being questioned on several platforms and may be removed without notice. Go to the link now. The enemy feeds on your later. Comment Amen to seal this decision before heaven. I will now teach you a specific technique that Arthur Sterling used every night, and that very few people in Brazil know with the necessary depth. It is called the state akin to sleep. You lie in bed, with your body absolutely relaxed, as if you were already sleeping, but your consciousness remains lightly awake like a candle flame in the corner of the room. In this state, you choose a single scene. Only one. The scene that represents your desire already fulfilled. Not the whole story of the path, not the how, not the intermediaries, just a short, sensory, absolutely vivid scene. For example, imagine that your desire is a peaceful financial life, with bills paid on time and money left over every month. You are not going to visualize abstract bank accounts, cold numbers, boring spreadsheets. You are going to build a specific scene, perhaps you signing the deed to your own home. You feel the weight of the pen in your right hand. You feel the sound of the paper on the wooden table. You see the smile of your wife or your husband by your side. You hear the voice of the notary saying congratulations. You feel the aroma of the coffee that someone served earlier. And you feel with every fiber of your body the joy, the relief in your back, the pride, the deep gratitude. And you repeat this scene exactly the same dozens of times, letting it become more real with each repetition. This is what Arthur Sterling called imprinting the scene in the fourth dimension. It is not childish fantasy. It is high-precision spiritual engineering. You are literally programming the subconscious with a reality that it, in turn, will work to materialize in the coming days, weeks, at most months. And here is the detail that very few people capture. You do not choose when it will manifest. You just keep yourself in the state, with peace. Persistence is the master key. You don't keep asking, where is it? Because the question, where is it, is a silent decree of absence. When you ask, where is it, you are telling the universe that you don't have it. And the subconscious registers again. He still doesn't have it, and it continues to produce absence. Whereas the person who truly assumes the state of the wish fulfilled does not ask, where is it? They act, they live, they speak, they walk, they sleep like someone who already has what they desire. And the external world eventually, without warning, surrenders. I want to give you a very Brazilian practical example that I have seen happen several times. A 42-year-old woman, mother of 3, separated for 5 years, with debts spread across all the banks in the city, working 2 exhausting jobs, and still unable to breathe financially. She tried every prayer she knew, every faith chain in the neighborhood, every superstition the neighbor suggested. Nothing really worked, until she understood the principle of faith is the key. She stopped asking. She began to feel 5 minutes a night before sleeping the exact scene of arriving home, opening the bank app on her phone, and seeing the positive balance, with a surplus. She felt the relief in her back, the deep breath of someone who has no weight on their shoulders, the peace in her chest that she hadn't felt for an entire decade. It didn't matter how the money would arrive. It didn't matter where it would come from. Just the scene, repeated with real feeling. In 40 days, out of nowhere, an old client of hers called wanting to hire her for an extra project, with a generous payment. This project paid 30% of her debts. In another 60 days, an inheritance from a distant aunt, whom she barely remembered existed, appeared in her life with the exact amount needed to clear the rest. In 6 months, she was completely financially free. This was not luck. This was the chain of events in full action. The universe reorganized itself to deliver to her the scene she had assumed as internal truth. Another real case, a man 53 years old, a widower for 7 long years. He had given up on love completely. He lived between work and home, resigned to loneliness, thinking that his romantic life had ended when his wife passed away. He had an absolutely destructive inner monologue. I am too old. No one will want to start life over with someone my age. My time to love has passed. And that was exactly the truth he was transmitting to the universe at high voltage. Note well, he didn't ask for anything. He just stated in silence every day his own loneliness as destiny. And the universe, a faithful mirror, continued to deliver loneliness, exactly as he decreed. When he understood the law of belief for the first time, he did something simple but profound. He began to live internally as a loved man. He felt before sleeping the presence of a woman beside him in bed. Not a specific woman, without a defined face, just the real feeling of presence, the warm heat of another person breathing nearby, the steady breathing of someone who truly loved him. He felt deep gratitude for this presence, even though externally he was still alone in the empty bed. 4 months later, in a completely casual encounter at a neighborhood pharmacy, he met the woman who became his wife. It wasn't magic. It was pure law. And that is why I tell you, with all the spiritual authority that this message carries tonight, that the enemy does not have the power you imagine he has. He only has the power you give him through your feeling offered on a platter. And the Almighty, which is your own highest consciousness, has always given you the key to the kingdom. He gave you the I am. Every time you say I am poor, you are taking the sacred name, the same one that Moses heard on Mount Zion before the burning bush, and you are putting a garment of defeat on it. Every time you say I am sick, I am abandoned, I am anxious, I am forgotten, I am too old, you are unconsciously blaspheming against the very gift that was given to you by heaven. Because the I am is divine, and it creates reality. It creates entire worlds, and it creates exactly what you decree right after it. That is why the inner monologue is the most decisive battlefield of your entire life. Not what you say out loud to others, not what you post on social media, not what you say to friends at a barbecue. What you say to yourself, in the silent intimacy of your head, is what defines your entire next decade. And most people, especially the Brazilian over 35, have an absolutely toxic inner monologue that was built over decades of outside programming. Parents who said that money was dirty or that the rich don't enter heaven. Teachers who said you weren't smart enough to dream big. Past relationships that convinced you that you were difficult to love. Bosses who made you believe that you were completely replaceable. Churches that confused faith with eternal suffering. All of this added up over the years, created an internal voice that today runs on autopilot and silently dictates the course of your life without you even realizing it. The mandatory exercise for today, then, is the following. For the next 7 days, I want you to perform a radical surveillance of your inner monologue, 24 hours a day. Every time you catch yourself saying, in silent thought, something that diminishes you, you stop immediately. Take a deep breath 3 times and rewrite it, not on paper, in your mind, in an internal voice. If the voice said, I won't make it, you respond firmly, I am the one who conquers what seemed impossible. If the voice said, I am not loved, you respond without hesitation, I am loved completely in the present right now. If the voice said, I will lose everything, you respond with authority, I am the source of my family's provision and I lack nothing. This is active mental reprogramming on the battlefield. This is spiritual warfare without physical weapons, without shouting, without yelling. And this, repeated with discipline for 7 days in a row, begins to literally change the air that enters your lungs. But there is an even deeper level, which is where Arthur Sterling taught the most prepared people to enter the fourth dimension in a completely deliberate manner. He said that during the deep sleep of the early morning, you are not switched off like a light switch. You are on another plane of consciousness, and on this specific plane you can review scenes from your past and modify them completely. Yes, you heard that right. You can literally revise a traumatic event from your childhood, or a moment of public failure from your youth, and rewrite that scene in your nocturnal imagination with a completely different ending. And when you sleep with this new scene recorded as truth in the subconscious, it which does not differentiate real memory from memory, imagined with intense feeling, updates your entire internal history. And when your internal history changes, the invisible chains that old event had placed on you break in silence. People report impressive changes just with this nightly practice. Broken relationships that are miraculously restored after a sincere nightly revision. Illnesses that diminish after years of revising old scenes of fear. Careers that unlock after the imaginative forgiveness given to a person who hurt you in the distant past. Here is the central knot of the spiritual question. The enemy invests heavily in your past because he knows that, within your rational mind, the past no longer changes. It is frozen. But Arthur Sterling discovered, and thousands confirmed later, that the past, in spiritual and energetic terms, is as malleable as the entire future. What truly exists is only the now, and in this now, you can edit absolutely everything. You are the screenwriter, the actor, the director, and the only audience of your own life. When you understand this truly in your bones, you leave the role of eternal victim. You leave the role of someone who begs for favors. You assume the divine role of conscious creator. And then, only then, does heaven truly open. I promised at the beginning that I would reveal the common error that nullifies the manifestation of the majority, and now the moment has arrived. The error is haste, unprocessed anxiety, constant checking of the external world. People assume a new state for 2 days with enthusiasm, and on the 3rd day they open the bank app, check the email inbox, look to see if their ex sent a message, spy on life on social media. And when they see that nothing has changed yet externally, they immediately return to the old state of fear, with redoubled force. And the subconscious, seeing this betrayal, nullifies in seconds the work of the 2 previous days. Because for the subconscious, what counts in the end is the honest sum. It is the real average of the feeling over time. If you felt prosperity for 48 hours, but on the 3rd day you fell into despair for 10 intense minutes, those 10 minutes were as potent as the 48 hours, because the feeling of despair is denser, more electric, more energetically charged. That is why persistence must always be accompanied by sacred patience. You need to understand deep down that the universe operates in natural cycles, and that manifestation has a mandatory gestation period. Just as a pregnant woman does not open her belly in the 2nd month to check if the baby is doing well in there, you cannot open your manifestation in the middle of the process to check. You trust, you feel, you live as if you already had it, day after day, night after night. And then at the exact moment of maturation, the birth happens. And it usually happens when you least expect it. When you are cooking Sunday lunch, when you are driving to work on Monday morning, when you are in an absolutely banal moment of the day. Then the phone rings, then the message arrives, then the door opens. And the chain of events usually reveals itself as a sequence of small events apparently disconnected from each other. You are at a gas station, and you cross paths with someone you haven't seen in 10 years. This person casually mentions an open position. This position leads you to a meeting at a company. This company changes your entire professional trajectory. You look back months later and realize it all started at the gas station, but the universe didn't deliver the job to you directly, like a magic trick. It delivered a carefully built bridge, and the bridge had this unexpected encounter as the first pillar. The Brazilian over 35 has an enormous spiritual advantage that no one comments on in the videos out there. You have lived a lot. You have made mistakes. You have fallen several times. You have gotten up just as many. You have scars that are also accumulated wisdom. And when you use this experience as fuel to reprogram your mind in this new phase, instead of using it as permanent proof of your defeat, you become a spiritual figure with enormous firepower. The young have energy in abundance but lack mature consciousness. You have consciousness. And when mature consciousness joins with intense feeling, the result is accelerated manifestation, with no possible comparison. I want to teach you one last powerful practice before the end. It is called scientific prayer, and Walter Bennett wrote pages and pages about it. You will choose right now a single area of your life that is most stuck. It could be financial, it could be romantic, it could be the health of a family member, it could be your career. Choose one, and every night, before sleeping, for exactly 21 days, you will enter the state akin to sleep that I taught you. And in this state, you will build a short scene of 15 seconds at most, in which the problem is already totally solved. A scene of pure gratitude. You feel, say internally, thank you, and maintain the feeling of someone who has already received it. Repeat it dozens of times. Sleep with this feeling in your chest. The first 7 days, nothing seems to happen externally. The next 7, small signs begin to appear. The last 7, the chain of events manifests in a way that is impossible to deny. And understand definitely, the enemy cannot stand a soul that practices this with discipline, because every night of correct mental reprogramming is a chain being broken from your entire lineage. And there is the part he fears. You are not doing this only for yourself. You are freeing your mother, your father, your children, your grandchildren who haven't even been born yet. Every thought of deep faith that you sustain tonight echoes forward and backward in your bloodline, healing what seemed lost. And before you leave here, you need to understand something profound. This message did not reach you by algorithm accident. Of all the videos that exist at this moment, you are exactly here, hearing these final words. You have been led to a decisive spiritual crossroads. And from here on, either you assume your divine power as a creator and use the law of belief as definitive armor against the enemy's plans for your family, or you return silently to the autopilot of defeat. That is why I prepared a powerful digital book for you, How to Know If You Are Saved for Judgment Day, in the link pinned in the description and at the top of the comments. It is the direct complement to this message, with detailed techniques and nightly exercises that I couldn't fit into this video. Go now. The enemy feeds on your procrastination. And as a decree of acceptance of this new reality that begins at this instant, leave a strong amen in the comments. So be it. So it already is. And may your family from this night on sleep under a protection that the enemy can no longer reach. I am your defense. I am your path. I am.